still waking up, ladies and gentlemen. He's still waking up. Got a little brass on that one. That went into the undershirt. Getting warm. I feel warm now. I feel warmed up. Took about 19 mags, but I feel dialed in. We got him. We won the flat range. Well, gentlemen, today, if you can see some of the bad hits behind me, have mercy. I was warming up. I'm not a morning person, and it is the morning. All bad excuses. Get better, shoot better, do better. Today we are talking about the Palmetto State Arms Dagger. And we're on the Managerial Outcomes channel, a channel with little rules and oversight where I can do whatever I want. Not that it's going to stop me regardless, but it's a little bit more, what do we say? Managerial Outcomes, what do we say here? How would you need it? What was that?
Lackadaisical.
Lackadaisical. It's a little bit loosey-goosey here, but we are going to keep it a little bit more structured than the usual range shenanigans in the sense that we have to talk about the Palmetto State Armory Dagger. And, well, we don't have to. No one's forcing me. There's not a guy off camera with a gun. Say PSA. Well, no, yeah, I'm just goofing. Being a goofy goober. Okay, so, So, a little embarrassing. Lost a screw to the red dot. I knew I should have put some Loctite on there. And now she has the custom extra inertia setting where if you shoot the gun, she's gonna wobble even more. We'll persevere through this trial. And we'll do a little bit of talking about the Palmetto State Armory Dagger. Now, how did the dagger come about into my possession? Well, of course, I do a lot of work with PSA as it is already. They are the ammo sponsor of the main channel, and they do send me a lot of their firearms also at my request, because a lot of times, and at the time of filming this, SHOT Shows going on, and they are always releasing a bunch of crazy cool stuff. So I will give them mad props because their mission is to arm as many civilians as possible, which I can dig. They aren't really going for the big government contract market, and they are really focused on the civilian end user, which I like that a lot. Palmetto State Armory Dagger. Now, here's the thing. So there's already been a bunch of YouTube videos on this gun. So why would you watch mine? Well, chances are you're a fan of the channel and you like to hang out with me on the flat range. So if that is you, then big thank you for stopping by. Essentially, I'm gonna give you my little thoughts and opinions on the gun real quick, and it's not gonna be as much of a firearm review as it would be because there have already been so many other gun tubers that are way smarter than I that have done such a review. And I'm initially gonna riff and roar on this thing. So off the rip, went to go zero, dot was already zero before I lost a screw, which is a nice feeling. If you've ever had that where you throw a fresh dot on your gun and you go to find your zero and it's already zeroed. It's the little things in life is what I'm trying to say. It's little things in life that really warm the heart. But ripping and roaring, probably got around, I don't know, a few hundred rounds through it before the dot just vanished into the nether. And in those rounds, getting a feel for the gun, of course, I wouldn't say it's as broken in as it could be, but I'll kind of get to what like my thought process is on this. Felt pretty good to shoot, like especially for what I was expecting. My expectations were low, but I think this gun did pretty good, especially when I got warmed up. It felt like I was just shooting a different model of Glock because, to be honest, kinda is a different model of Glock. So it's essentially what happened is that the Glock Gen 3 patent expired, and then a lot of other companies swooped in, Palmetto State Armor being one of them, and they designed the PSA Dagger. Now, what makes the Dagger so appealing is its price tag. Its price tag is gonna be around $350 to I think $450. I don't think I saw any of them, even with their mag packages, creeping up to $5 yet. That may change. Inflation, better package deals. I think they're working on making more tactical Gucci looking ones, but at the time, it's still a very affordable pistol. For $350, my expectations for a handgun are pretty freaking low, okay? What makes it also interesting is that you can pick up on the same website a Glock 19 Gen 3, and I think those are going for around at least $450. So there is an interesting little bit thing there, but those do not come with an optic cut as it is, like this one did, even though my screw came loose. It's kind of like saying something on the bigger picture of life, you know? But then you have to ask yourself, is the Dagger right for me? Now, there was a time in my life when I was not as financially capable as I am now. And something like this could have been a real godsend, because essentially you have a super cheap pistol that's gonna be functioning pretty good. It's gonna feel like a Glock. It's gonna have an optic ready cut, and you could trick it out to your heart's desire, and it's crazy affordable. That's the big appeal to me, is that for my, say, younger guys or guys that are balling on a budget, you can essentially get a good handgun now for super cheap. Is this gonna be, you know, your feel-good, high-speed Gucci gun? No. And I would even argue, if you do have the means, you can always get that feel-good bug into your system and go get just a regular Glock 19, you know, Gen 3, Gen 4, Gen 5, and you can feel just as good. Now, there is the jump up where, say, if you go to a Glock 19 Gen 5 stock, right? It's gonna be around $500–600. Now, this is half the cost of that, pretty much. Maybe you can even find it cheaper if you got it used, and you could take that other $300 and throw it down on 1,000 rounds of ammo. At that point, chances are you'll be running irons, but either way, it's how you're gonna spend your money is up to you. I can't tell you. I'm just kind of like thinking out loud. There's a few different thought processes there. Now, to get, say, into even the Gucci Glock realm, it's gonna be, you know, $1,300, $1,400, $1,600 depending on what you're getting in that realm, and then that's even before the optics you're gonna throw on the gun. So this, for what it is, I think is a pretty screaming deal. Now, is this gonna be something that applies to you, particularly the guy watching this video behind the screen? Honestly, I have no idea, right? I don't know your life circumstances. I don't know what you're up to. I don't know your financial setting. Is this something that I think has a lot of potential as a backup gun? Maybe you're already set with your guns and you're thinking, okay, I want to have a backup gun of some kind. And when I say a backup gun, not like a gun you carry on you like a backup, but just like a spare gun to have around. It's kind of, those things are kind of nice to have, like a shower gun, break in case of emergency. I know I may be sounding crazy, but trust me, I know you've thought about a shower gun too, and this could be a good shower gun option. So one thing I do like about the gun is its grip. I do like this grip, actually. There's a weird hump back here, and I'm not sure if they could have actually gotten away with ditching it or not, based off my hand preference, but they have this little finger groove up front, just one. Unlike the Gen 3s that have the multiple finger grooves, you have just the one. And when you get a good grip on it, I find that it actually helps out with vice clamping this thing down, and it feels pretty good in the hands. Like the recoil impulse to me did not feel terrible. Nothing about the gun felt terrible. You know, is it a Gucci Glock? Absolutely not. But it felt all pretty solid when I was shooting all around, right? What's crazy about that is the price point that it comes in at, right? I know I've already harped on the price point, and you can take that numbers and run with it as you will. And the performance at that level, especially with everything you're getting, is pretty wild. Like, it is very impressive what they managed to pull off with this particular handgun. You know, the handgun itself, am I jumping out of my seat saying, wow, I can't wait to get another, you know, Glock clone copy. I think they're super cool. No, not really. You know, it's kind of like a generic Glock clone, but for what they managed to accomplish at the price point, that's what's really exciting. And that's when I give them a lot of props for that at the very least. I totally blew over in this video that this also comes with a freaking threaded barrel. So you have threaded barrel, suppressor sized sights, optic cut, and an aesthetically pleasing gun for how cheap it is. I'm still actually blown away that they managed to pull this off. Like, I wanna know what sort of voodoo magic, and I wanna know, like, could Glock sell their guns cheaper or something? Like, what's going on? What's going on here? What's actually happening in the pistol world? Okay, like, are we just getting, you know, super upcharged or something? How do they do this? Like, it actually makes me a little bit mad. Anyway, I threw the Trijicon RMR in here because it's God's optic and it's a vibe. And hopefully we don't have any more screws flying off my red dots. But I did want to take the time to say a big thank you to Americana Pipe Dream Apparel for being the sponsor of this video. We're gonna get it in, all right? We're gonna get it in somehow. Okay. I wanted to thank those guys, fantastic young Zoomers getting after the milsurf space and arena. Bunch of cool stuff, night vision knives, manuals, and they have what you need to kit out that milsurf collection. So of course, a big thank you to Americana Pipe Dream Apparel. We also have to thank Optics Planet. Big fan of Optics Planet. They've been hooking up the channel with a lot of attachments, and they're like my attachment sponsor. And they can be your attachment sponsor, IRL. So use code ADMIN for 7% off the entire store. A big thank you to the Planet of Optics. Now, of course, it comes into, you may be someone that's thinking, okay, could this be something that I get that I could then use to defend my life with? And I honestly think you could. So far, just running 124 grain, we had 0 malfunctions. The only issues I'd have is on me, and that would be riding the slide based off my grip. So it could either push up the slide, which I don't have a problem with that. Usually my problem is depressing the slide release, and then the gun doesn't lock back to the rear on the last mag. That's usually my shooter issue that I have to work on. But I think this could be something to where if you're truly balling on a budget, but you want a good handgun, this could be something pretty good. And I know I've seen these out and about in the wild, at least on the internet, where guys are like, hey, this is my go-to handgun. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, guys were having high points, you know, be their go-to handgun when they were really balling on a budget. And you know, it's, as much as I hate to hear that, it is the nature of the beast. And that was a real thing. Like I've actually seen dudes where they're like, yeah, that's my defensive pistol. And you know, it breaks my heart a little bit because it's like seeing a child in need. But nonetheless, I mean, technically a high point can still put someone 6 feet in the ground, hold me closer. I'm standing on the ledge. That's not how the song goes. Hold me now, I'm 6 feet on the edge. Another impressive thing is that it comes with the suppressor-sized sights off the rip, which is nice because a lot of times those are pretty pricey. I am still mind-boggled of how they got this gun to be so much going on with the price point that it's at. Now, another thing that I also like is the grip on the back. I don't even mad props for this because when I was shooting, I like to get my hand as high up into that tail as I can when I'm shooting a Glock platform. And I don't think I got any slide bite whatsoever. And I'll typically get slide bite. I got like a little bit of a decent callus going. Does it look like a callus? Like I've had it to where I've gotten slide bite on you know, just about every Glock I've shot. I've even gotten slide bite when shooting a Glock 18, you know, really carved in there, but thanks to all that callusing there, it was like NBD. So kind of, you know, fun fact. But I want to give them mad props for that as well, because the way the grip is set up, it really was not, even as close as I am with my skin right there, it just did not interact with it whatsoever. So give them props for that. And it's actually pretty impressive. It's a pretty impressive handgun for how much it costs. Like it's pretty freaking sick. And another thing I'll give them props on is it actually looks good. So when we think of something this cheap, we wouldn't think of it having a decent aesthetic or a good aesthetic, but this actually does have a good look to it. I mean, the lines, the cuts, the front serrations, the rear serrations, the cuts in the slide, it give it a good look. Like it has a nice, elegant presentation to it. I'm having a hard time hating on it, is what I'm trying to say. Like I really try and find the negatives of guns that I shoot. I can't really find a lot of negatives on this, especially at that price point. If this was like a gun that was $2,000, I'd say why. This feels like it could be a gun that's just like, okay, cool, rock and roll, you got it, and it's your go-to gun. Like it feels like a much more expensive gun than it really is. That's impressive. That's a really hard thing to pull off in my opinion, and they did it. So it's wild. PSA has been delivering, and for a long time, they've been a company that's really easy to hate until recently when they're coming out with all this crazy stuff. If anything, I'm mad they don't have it all released yet. Like I wanted the STG-44 by now. Mad props to them, man. It really is impressive. Holster integration, something we're all questioning. Now, weird little train of thought incoming. So the holster I'm running is Safariland holster, and the gun is very tight in that holster in particular. Now, is this an issue if this is your duty gun, duty holster? No, because chances are if you actually rock a duty holster, you're probably not gonna be rocking a PSA Dagger. Unless you're maybe some sort of private security and you have to supply your own gun and you wanted to cheap out and you bought a PSA Dagger, and then you got a Safariland. Possibility of you running a Dagger in your Safariland exists. If you're someone that's paid to carry a gun, like law enforcement agency, military, chances are you're not running a Dagger. It's a little bit tight. I haven't tried the gun with other inside the waistband holsters because I am running a Mod Lite PL350 on here. The Mod Lite PL350 does not integrate well with other inside the waistband holsters, so it kind of negates that already. And I should have tried them but I just didn't because, to be honest, I'm not gonna everyday carry this as my go-to handgun just because I have so many other options that I like already, but I'm mainly showing it off to you guys. Everything I'm putting out there, of course, is all my opinion, so take it with a grain of salt. I'm a dude on the internet, I'm not real. I'm in your screen. I only exist in your YouTube feed. So there's that. I'm kind of real. Okay, like I'm real to me, but technically in the great simulation, how do you know I'm real? Now the trigger I actually found to be pretty freaking enjoyable for the Dagger trigger. It feels very familiar in the terms of a Glock trigger, at least to me it does. It's got a little bit of that weird bendy look up front for like a safety actuation, so you can't, if you're not activating that lower part of the trigger, it's not gonna go off. But you have to activate the little guy down there to really get going. The pull, the breaking point of the trigger, all feels familiar like a Glock trigger that we all know and love. So I will give them props in that sense because I know a lot of guys have thousands and thousands of rounds on, you know, just a stock Glock trigger. I'm one of them, and I am very familiar with the stock Glock trigger. And it's a comfy, happy place. It's a safe space on the flat range when you're pulling a Glock trigger. When I do the dry fire, because the dot's loose, it's like, when you do the click. Wish my screw didn't come loose. Crazy, I was crazy once. What if I got tired of filming? You know, like what if one day I came onto YouTube and I was tired and I was like, you know what guys, I'm not talking about the PSA Dagger today, and I just roll on the TV and we just watch Saving Private Ryan. Unsubscribe right now. All right, nerd out time. If I really think about it, if I really think about why I love the PSA Dagger, is it lets me live out my warlord fantasies. And this is a little bit of a trend and a topic I've talked about here and there when it comes to economic guns on the channel, and especially with PSA, because now I can truly arm the masses with my capability, right? If I was, say, jockeying for a warlord position when the, you know, great dodgeball match in the sky starts, you know, say if I had 10, 20, 30 PSA daggers, I could essentially equip almost a platoon, maybe, let's just say 40. If I had 40 daggers, I could equip a platoon of guys with a sidearm, as well as they could probably have some sort of economic rifle. You know, PSA making blim rifles that are pretty good, you know, around $400-500, and that would be pretty scary. A bunch of riflemen with sidearms, you know, that's pretty standard gun guy loadout here in America in 2024. It's kind of expected, right? Helmet, plate carrier, battle belt, sidearm, rifle. That's kind of the go-to norm for a lot of guys. Everyone kind of has that now. And if you could do that, you could potentially set yourself up for a nice spot in the warlord sector until, of course, a bigger and better warlord that was able to trick his guys out with, say, Glock 18s. I don't know. Now we're really reaching here, grasping at straws. Okay, ultimately, big takeaway, PSA Dagger, great for the price point. I really think there's something going on here. I'm very impressed by how it shot, how it felt, and how it ran. I think it could be a great economic option for you if you are balling on a budget, or if you just want a backup gun in general. I don't know your circumstances, like I said. As always, gentlemen, I got nothing else for you. Catch you on the flip. Hold me now! I'm 6 feet on the edge.